Okay, here's my Bannock mix. It's well, first of all, I know there's many different recipes that you can use. You can use mixed dried egg with it. You can, if you're making it at home, or you've got fresh eggs, access to fresh eggs, you can mix fresh eggs with it. You can mix butter with it. But the basic core ingredients I've used is, for economy of time, I could actually use the mix that I've got here and actually bake it in a small oven, a billy can with sort of a couple of stones or another container inside it, which then the ingredients are put in, mixed with water or milk, and then I could bake it over a fire. It takes about half hour, 45 minutes on a gradual heat, so it sort of bakes up a little bit like bread. But the mix I've got here is to make drop scones, which I'm going to be putting in the frying pan. I've got some butter, but the problem with butter, it cooks and heats up on a very low heat, so it can burn. So I've got some sunflower oil here, which actually takes a lot of heat for it to actually burn. So it's a very good base for cooking and frying. So I'm just going to basically add a little bit of butter for flavouring, and then mainly cook it with a very small thin film of oil on the base of the frying pan. Okay, my Bannock mix. Simple, quick, easy mixture, so I can cook it immediately. Drop scone method. In this zip up plastic bag, which I'll eventually add water to make the dough mixture, is a 300 milliliter cup of plain flour, and then the same cup used again with about a third, which will be about 100 milliliters in volume, of powdered milk powder, and then 3 teaspoons of sugar, and then a teaspoon of baking powder. But then to flavour it up and give it a bit more substance, although you can't see it, there's a sort of a handful mixture of crushed Brazil nuts, hazelnuts, walnuts, pecan nuts, dried cranberries, dried sultanas and almonds, and I've crushed that up to give it a bit more flavour and substance. So I'm going to mix it up with water now, and then drop scone it in the pan. What I've done is I've added water just a little bit at a time until it gets sort of a doughy consistency, which obviously you can see it's now starting to get a bit doughy as the drier parts of the flour mixture, Bannock mixture, start to sort of absorb the water. But what I'm now going to do is I'm going to knead it in the bag, because I need to eat it. Okay, I've just turned it over. It's already started to brown on that side. You can see a couple of cranberries, sultanas. See the old little extra flavoursome bits coming through there. So I'll turn this over a couple more times. It'll be cooking for about sort of 5 minutes, and I should be able to make about 4 or 5 of them. Really good. If you see that, it's sort of like a doughy, cakey mixture, cooked right the way through, crispy on the outside. As it starts to cook, sort sort of just pressing it down a little bit, and just to make them a little bit more pancakey. But that is good. Right, it's all going well. I've eaten the first one, which was a small one. So instead of making sort of 4 or 5, what I decided to do, that's the second one, which again I've been nibbling at. And then the third one, what I did, I sort of put in sort of a double spoonful, but left it so it was sort of a mound of it, and then kept taking bits out of the bag, applying it just on top, and then started to flatten it out. So this was the first surface. I've just turned it over, and it's cooking the other side. You see more sultana there, juicy bit of fruit. So that's the third one. So I've got 2 large drop scone bannock cakes, and I've eaten the first one. Well, what I've done with the last one, it was about 2/3, 3/4 cooked through. So I thought what I'd do is I'd put it on top of the saucepan there and put the lid on it, and it's still had enough heat in the base of the frying pan to still keep the heat coming through for it to rise and finally cook it out. So sort of more baking it out on the last part, so I can get the tea on the brew. They're letting the tea brew for at least 4 minutes. With tea, interesting thing to actually to know is that if you brew tea for at least 4 minutes, it releases an enzyme which is like an antibacterial for the mouth and teeth. I know tea and coffee and drinks like that stain, not just your clothing, but maybe your teeth, or if you don't keep your teeth clean. But there's an enzyme, I can't think of what the enzyme's called offhand, but if you let the tea brew for at least 4 minutes, it's got an antibacterial quality, which is good for the teeth. What we got here, we got the second bannock. I've just eaten the second big one. So you can see the size of that in relation to my hand. So that's got quite a good pack with calories, carbohydrates, just a little bit of fat, mainly from the fat that you've cooked the food in, which is basically negligible. It's just there as a surface to let the heat come through without the actual substance burning. So with a little bit of butter, a little bit of oil, and then you've got the protein of the nuts, the carbohydrates also of the fruit. So I mean, if just 2 of these or 1 of these were enough to keep me going, I could pack that up. Obviously it'd be cool, and eat that again during the day. So all good stuff. So that's bannock. Drop scones.